I'm Ronnie Klassen, and this is Straight Talk. Good afternoon, Sabah. I'm Ronnie Klassen, and this is Straight Talk. 4 days has passed since the 29th of November, when approximately 1.2 million Sabahans went to the polling stations to vote who will be the next government of Sabah. The results are out. A decision was made by the voters, and today the government of Sabah has been formed. All right. The cabinet ministers has also been named alongside assistant ministers as well as the 6 nominated assemblymen. With me this afternoon here is the senior lecturer of political science and policy studies of UITM. He is Encik Rahezzal Shah Abdul Karim. Welcome, Rahezzal, to my podcast.
Thank you, Ronnie, for having me here.
All right. You are basically a man with thorough experience in political science, policy studies, all right, as well as you keep yourself abreast with what's going on in the political fraternity in Sabah. All right. Tell us, Rahezzal, what are your thoughts in the results of the recently concluded state elections?
Thank you, Ronnie, again for having me here. Appreciate the invitations. Now, if you look at the result, personally, on personal level, I would say it's a fair decision, a result by the people. Now, depending on who you ask, there's a lot of interpretations about the result. If you ask other political parties from both sides, they will claim that, well, they're not happy with the result, especially the opposing teams,
Right.
or the losing teams, or those parties who didn't manage to form the government. And I think a lot of discussions leading up to the election is about having that stability. It means both parties, I'm referring to, of course, the biggest two, which is GRS and also Warisan,
Yes.
went to elections by campaigning on stability. Means give us a strong mandate. By giving us a strong mandate, give us enough majority to form government on our own, then we have a stability government. Because in the past we have seen the government almost collapse after 1.5 years, I believe. Langkah Kinabalu, the infamous Langkah
correct,
Kinabalu. So stability is something that both parties are campaigning with. But if you ask academician like me and a lot of people out there, I think for them, we need that kind of strong two-party system, sort of, so that there'll be almost check and balance. Now, I've been enough as a researcher studying in the areas of political science, and I'm sure you, Ronnie, also a man of love history, and we all bear witness how if one party is strong enough, it might bring stability in the first few years, but again, history has shown that a lot of these parties or this government eventually become corrupt and so on. So I'm from a different perspective, from a non-political perspective, it's a fair decision because you have these two parties which are only divided by a small margin. In the case of Warisan, is a deficit of 4 seats compared with GRS. So I think it's a fair result for everybody. But what is clear also is we have seen there's a great shift in some of the demographic within the election this time, and specifically on the Chinese. You see there's a DAP got 0. I mean, they literally wipe out in these elections, DAP, which is
huge swing,
which is unprecedented. I think part of the reason is because there's this growing resentment among the Chinese voters toward DAP. I won't label it so much as, not to say that there are not those who voted for Warisan. Means there might be a certain segments of the voters among the Chinese who voted Warisan because they believe in the slogan Selamatkan Sabah, and they believe that all this fight that about MS63, 40%, and they really believe that Warisan can deliver it. But I believe majority of those who voted DAP out is just because of protest vote. Means they voted them out not because they fall in love suddenly
For Warisan.
for Warisan,
Right.
but it's more about the rejections toward the DAP as a whole, and they don't have any alternative other than SAPP. And I don't see at this, I mean, during the campaign that the vote gonna swing to SAPP. So the only alternative would be go to Warisan. Another interesting observations, which I think a lot of people notice as well, is when you look at the numbers by both Warisan and GRS, there seems to be a divisions among the Bumiputra Islam in the West Coast and the Bumiputra Islam in the East Coast.
Right.
And it's quite clear when Warisan managed to win significant numbers of seats in 2018 elections, and eventually they managed to form a government. But now it's become even clearer. If you look at the seats, I believe there's only 2 seats in West Coast that have significant numbers of Bumiputra Muslim that won, but even that with a Rahezzal majority. I believe
right.
is in Bongawan and also Sindumin. Those
correct,
two.
yes.
And the rest of the seats that Warisan got is from the East Coast, from Bumiputra Islam. So that's another interesting observation. And the third observation is the KDM seats, which is divided. Now, a lot of us, when we share information, we always talk about with other analysts on the ground, both local analysts, those who fly in from Semenanjung, try to observe our elections. Everybody agree the competition is between GRS and also Warisan, and the predictions was either Warisan will come on top or GRS. But
right.
everybody agree it's gonna be Rahezzal differences. Means the only differences between number 1 and number 2 maybe 3 to 4 or 5 seats, which is eventually that's the case.
Right.
But I think what most of us got wrong, and I admit this as well, was most of us were looking at somewhere between 20 to 21 for whoever, whether it's Warisan or GRS, and the other second would be 18 to 17 and so on. So it's either GRS or Warisan occupied the first position. Because all of us, majority of us believe that the KDM will get, all the smaller party KDM will get those seats that are majoritarily under KDM seats. But unfortunately, I think most of us got it wrong. PBS somehow managed to secure 6 seats.
Right.
And everybody was predicting that Star gonna got like 3 or 4, and UPCO might get 4, PKDM might get 3 to 4. So that's where most of us got it wrong. So, but as we can see now, Sabah is basically now, it's quite clear, even though it's from outside people, they look at this, they said it's quite messy. But actually, you can see Sabah lateral demographic now is divided into 4 blocks. The Bumiputra Muslim in the East Coast, Bumiputra Muslim in the West Coast, the Chinese, and also the KDM.
Okay, interesting observation, Rahezzal. Many of us, basically, voters particularly, as well as the youth, first-time voters, all right? This is the word political stability, all right, has been a word that has been harping on literally in everybody's mind.
Agree.
Okay. Now, there's a very famous proverb, quote, all right, that says, the people's power is greater than the people in power. All right. Now, the peninsular-based parties, all right, obtain a number of seats that no one actually predicted.
Yep.
Many, of course, depending who you ask, again, all right, actually said that, these parties will win more seats than what the results has actually shown. Now, my question to you is this. A huge bulk of the seats that has been won in the current, the election, are mainly local-based parties. Okay, do you foresee a message sent to the federal government, the Madani government, that again, like I said, the people's power is greater than the people in power? Do you see a path shown, all right, that the 18 state elections would be different from the 17 elections, right? In the case of local parties taking full advantage, full control of the state.
I won't be surprised at all. I mean, if you look at the trend now, let's look at them one by one. Let's start with BN, for example. Now, BN has been on in terms of popularity, in terms of the seats, they're looking downtrend in terms of numbers of seats from 2013, 2018, 2020 up until now. Last election it was 14, and now they managed to secure 6. Now, you just imagine when they start on the downtrend. At that time, the sentiments towards Sabah for Sabahan was still at, I would say, as haven't reached its peak yet as it is now. After 4 elections, a PRN cycle, the sentiment for Sabahan has reached its peak. Now, just imagine, even before the peak, I mean the sentiments become major issues, BN already started
declining. Right.
Let alone now where the Sabah and Sabahan sentiments, the how do I put it, anti-federal and anti-federal parties is really quite strong among the voters. Then I don't see there's any much hope for BN unless they try to rebrand themselves, and I don't see how they're gonna do that with Bung. And I believe that Bung have to resign before he's being replaced. So that with BN. Now, if you look at DAP, now, the Chinese has always been known to be pragmatic in terms of how they vote.
Yes.
Few friends of mine who say that, I try to grasp my head around why do the Chinese vote for Warisan. I said, number one, it's because, again, it's not because they really voted for Warisan. It's more because of rejection. And I do believe within the Warisan themselves, they know this is the case. But the sentiment, the rejection was so strong that I don't see that if there's no major changes happening, how they can make a comeback in the next PRN. And I even believe that the biggest test for them would be the next PRU, which is coming within 2 years or 1.5 years. That will send us a strong indications how they're going to perform in the next PRN. And lastly, we have Pakatan Keadilan themselves. Now, Keadilan is always, in Sabah, is always, they cannot go beyond the 2 seats that they won. And it was Api-Api, I believe, and where's the other one, right? So, for the past 3 to 4 election cycle, they have always been stagnant in terms of the performance.
Right.
Now, could they make a comeback after what happened? This time around, they have fielded in a lot of seats, many seats. Strong support. And remember, before this, they were not part of the federal government.
Right.
But this time around, they've been supported by all the federal government apparatus supporting them. But yet, they still failed to deliver. So, I won't be surprised in the next PRN, but PRN is a bit too far, Ronnie.
Right.
Let's look at PRU, whether they get, that will send a strong indication whether they're going to be wiped out in the next PRN.
Actually, one good example would be Inanna.
Yes.
All right. You've had heavyweights actually there. All right. One of the candidates basically was the incumbent. All right. And there are 2 other candidates who were there who contested. One contested as an independent, and one contested under Star. All right. And both the Star candidate and the independent won the seats before under the PKR flagship. All right. And all 3 of them lost. All right. And well, congratulations to Edna Majibun from Warisan, who eventually took advantage of the situation and won.
And I think, Ronnie, it's a good thing that you mentioned about Inanna. And across other constituents, you can see similar patterns happening. I give you one example of that. Within Spangar, within the same parliamentary area, Spangar, which is Karambunay. Now, Dato' Ali Akbar has been doing groundwork for the past 4.5 years since he was appointed as nominated assemblyman. Now, if you look at the divisions split among the votes, the percentage of votes that Dr. Ali Akbar won was only close to 27 to 28%,
Right.
which is quite low.
Yes.
But somehow he managed to take advantage of the split that happened between three major established party, which is Warisan. Warisan came second with 6,000 plus.
BN.
Followed closely, no, GRS, I believe, 4,000 plus, 4,600, and then UMNO, 4,000 plus. So because of this split, he managed to win. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, this is," and I'm not trying to take anything away from PAS. They can be happy about it. They can celebrate about it. But I would tell them, hang on tight first. You know, it doesn't mean that people are, you know, gonna welcome you. People are, your support is starting to grow.
Yeah.
But Ali Akbar, personality himself, well liked by everybody, and plus the multi-corner fight gave a huge advantage to Dr. Ali Akbar. If it were 3 to 4 party, perhaps the other party would be able to win instead of Dr. Ali Akbar. But he stood a chance similarly with Inanam. It's because of the major split that happened within, and a lot of other areas also indicate a similar pattern.
Now, one undisputable fact, Rahezzal, the main bulk of the 73 aduns that's going to be seated in the Dewan, all right, only 8 of them are non-local based party, all right. The rest are all local based, irrespective of whichever aisle they sit in, all right. Now, the fact that you have majority of these aduns now representing local based parties, all right, let's take a closer look at GRS, all right. How do you see GRS performing in the first 100 days in office?
Wow, that's a tough one. The cabinet lineup has been announced,
Yes.
as well as the assistant ministers, but I don't think they have give much detail in terms of where they're going to put the assistant ministers. Let's start with the cabinet himself. There's nothing much new there. I mean, I would hope that new faces would be fielded, and I'm sure a lot of people are talking about it as well. You see same old faces there. I was hoping that
A couple of them
would
have been promoted, actually.
Yes, yes, a couple of them would promoted
From
but
assistant ministers.
assistant minister, but majority of them, especially from GRS, I'm speaking of GRS, the other from different party, for example, let's talk about Joaquim or people, Jamawi. It's basically they were there because of party hierarchy and party quota. So that's number one. So there's nothing much in terms of options there. The chief minister's hands are a bit limited in terms of choices there.
Right.
So he needs to point each of the representative from each of the party who gave support to the GRS. But from GRS, I'm talking about specifically from PGRS. I was hope that more younger people will be elevated, or maybe perhaps Gigi would have used the Adun Delantik to fill some of the position. I was hoping that Datuk Bob, the candidates in
For Darau.
Darau, we see he did. Everybody praised him for even though he lost with a slim majority, he did a well managed campaign in Darau, and maybe other younger leaders. Jasni, for example, he previously was assistant minister. Didn't get full ministerships, but instead Gigi stick with the old guard. So I don't know, maybe after 2 or 3 years, maybe they can have a look whether there's a room for reshuffle. That's number one in terms of the cabinet lineup. And number two, 100 days, it's always been a benchmark in parliamentary system. They always use 100 days, which is what, 3 months plus?
Yes.
Okay? I think what Gigi needs to do now, not within 100 days. 100 days is a bit too long. Within the next 1 month, is he must come out with a clear roadmap. Roadmap means, number one, in terms of manifesto. He have to tell the public all the manifesto that they campaign, how they're going to implement it, when they're going to implement it. You can't say that, oh, we're going to implement it soon, whatever. There must be a clear roadmap in terms of, for example, among the promises made was free education. He must tell us where this is going to happen. Is it going to happen this year? Is it going to happen next year? That it comes. That is relating to manifesto and other things that I mentioned in manifesto. On the issue of Tiga Serangkai or the issue relating with infrastructures or the
water,
electricity, and so on. He needs to tell the people what would be the immediate roadmap. I'm not talking about solutions. Solution, you put it aside first. They have been talking about solutions even before, about building all these dams. Yes, that's great. But he needs to have that timeline. What going to happen within 6 months? What going to happen within next year? Where are we going to be? Where do we expect things going to be in terms of the potholes? Where is going to be in terms of water disruptions? How much frequency we're going to lower the frequencies of disruptions, electricity, and so on. So he needs to come up with this one within 1 month. So there's not much time left. He needs to ask all the ministers to work out, to discuss with all the what you call this, with all the civil service, try to chart out a clear roadmap as to how they're gonna implement all this. That's number 2. And number 3, I think one of the biggest issues that I've mentioned this in some of the interview that I had is there is a need, a strong reform within the civil service and also GLC. Now, why do I talk about these two, GLC and apa? When it comes to civil service, they are the ones who are going to go on the ground, implement all the so-called or roadmap that I mentioned just a moment ago. They are the ones who are going to implement all this, not the minister. The ministers are the ones who are going to monitor and everything, but by the end of the day, it will be the permanent secretaries, it will be all the directors and so on. There is a need now, I believe, for the chief minister to really look at how the delivery system within the government can be further improved. Whether we like it or not, yes, issues of funding is one big issue in Sabah, and hence the 40% is a big deal. But apart from that, there is a great concern about the effectiveness and the efficiencies of the civil or delivery system itself. So I think this is one area that within this 1 month or 2 months, Hajiji needs to come up with some kind of plan and to how to transform the civil service. That's regard civil service. And number 2, GLC. Now everybody knows that GLC is in the past is a place where you put all the political appointees there. I'm not against political appointee if they got the merit. But there is a strong need for a reform within the GLC in terms of governance, or as PMX likes to call it, tata kelola. They need a strong monitoring process of how GLCs is doing their operations, monitoring their performance and so on. Now, there are some measures put forward by the Ministers of Finance, Masidi in the past, and he's still the Ministers of Finance, Finance Minister. But more should be done to make sure that we put the right people, the right talent in GLC and also those leaders within the civil service. Because for me, they are the engine of the government. Whatever good policy that IGG come out with, it won't be felt by the people if it's not being implemented in a more efficient way. So this is, I hope, that going to be one main agenda that the chief ministers and the cabinet going to look at it seriously.
One interesting point that you brought up basically about GLCs. Okay, I think it has been by convention in the past that you're right in saying that chairmanships of GLCs has always been occupied or filled by politicians. All right, that's more of a gift to them, right? Simply because they don't sit in the cabinet, whether as ministers or assistant ministers. All right, so it's more like a trade-off.
Correct.
I'm sorry, I can't put you as an assistant minister, but you will be the chairman of this GLC. All right. Now, having said that, would you agree that such a movement should be stopped? All right. I feel that any chairman of any JLC, all right, should be members of the community, all right, who are professionals, right?
Exactly.
People with that kind of expertise in the nature of business of the JLC. What do you think about that, Rahezzal?
I've been mentioning about this in a lot of the engagement I had in the past for YB to stay out of GLCs. Um, well, there might be some exception, but whenever you start saying, "Oh, there'll be exception," then it's no longer an exception, right? Everybody will say, "I'm the exception. I'm the exception." And then
Right.
by the end of the day, everybody gonna be the chairman of the board and so on. But I view it this way. Now, the reason why, and I know real politics. I mean, I'm not naive enough to say that all these people need to be rewarded, and politics again is about getting the support of the people.
Right.
And the last thing IGG wants is for these people to, throw their support to the other parties. And I'm sure he's been mindful that these people maybe need to be rewarded in one way or another. And the easiest way and the quickest way is, of course, is through position. And this is nothing secret about it. Everybody knows about this. But how can we get a qualified people to stay in there if you fill it up with all those people from Ketua Bagian, for example,
Right.
Ketua Cawangan,
Correct.
Ketua Wanita, Ketua Belia, and so on.
Right.
So, as you mentioned clearly, it should be people from the industry, people within those communities, depending on what GLC it is, that sit on the board, sit as a chairman, and sit as CEO. Then the question would be, as a politician, if you are a politician or you are chief minister, you will say, Rahezzal, if I do that, then what should I do with all these people political? I have an answer to that, especially the YB. Let's start with the YBs. This is where I said reform in Dewan Undangan Negeri is very important in the State Assembly. The State Assembly, they should sit in the State Assembly doing their job there. But the way and how the State Assembly is being run now, we are wasting all the thick carpet that we have in Dewan Undangan Negeri, because for 1 year, believe it or not, we only sit in Dewan Undangan Negeri for less than a month. Maybe 3 to 4 sessions. Every one session,
3-4 days at the most. Yeah.
at the most.
Yeah.
And the rest of that, it's empty. Why not make it more lively? How do you make it lively? By create a committee. A committee that mirrored the functions of each of the ministries. I have mentioned about this time and time again. And what do the YB do? They sit there and call all the pengarah, call all the permanent secretary, call all the people, asking them, hey, what's the problem with this? Why the pothole is there? Why we still have water? Sit there and they can perform their job. After all, they are appointed not as, they are elected. The name of the election is State Assembly. Legislative Assembly.
Right.
You're supposed to sit at the State Assembly. You're not supposed to perform the job of Ketua Kampung, Majlis Daerah, and so
True,
on.
correct,
And
yes.
I was telling, I keep some of my YB. I've met quite numbers of YBs in the past from both political parties. I always say this. You know what? You should fight with the government by saying that you should give us more power in Dewan Undangan Negeri so that we can perform our job. Why do you want to go to the kampung? The kampung should be the DO should be doing that.
Correct.
Why should you go and visiting all the Jabatan Kantong? This should be the functions of PBT. You should be sit there and you call your Ketua Kampung, 2KK in the Dewan, so everybody can grill. Hey, why you didn't do this? Why you didn't do this?
Right. Correct.
So means you can reform GLC and simultaneously at the same time reforming the DUN as well. Give more tasks to the YB to do more in Dewan Undangan Negeri. Now, every time I have issues with my areas, there are several ways and I can do that. I'm a fox in kampung. My areas, every time when there's rain, flood. So I will call the DO or I call the YB. And the YB will ask the pengarah, whatever. And he will say on the phone, blah, blah, blah. He give all sort of excuse. Next week, next month, another typhoon coming in, another flood. He will call them. Now, what I propose is, this YB, they will sit in the DUN, they form a committee, for example, a committee on infrastructure. and you sit there, Warisan is there, GRS is there. If you truly say that we want, as a local party, we want to work together, let's start with that. And every time when there's a flood, when they want to ask question, they can call the JKR to come to the Dewan Dengan Negeri to officially answer it. Because now, the way and how it works, every session there are 4 days. One day in the morning, normally they will have the Q&A. Up until 5 questions only for 1 hour. And the rest of questions, jawapan bertulis. But if you have that avenue for the YB to monitor, you can ask all the questions. You can call all the ministry to come, and so they will be on their toes, and they worry that every time when they sit in the office, next time the YB going to call me to do an answerable. They're going to be answerable to the rakyat by going to, no longer they are hiding behind the minister. All this while, who's going to answer on the behalf of the pengarah? Is the minister. So these are the things. If you do this, then all the YB going to go there, and we can put all the professional people from industry to sit on the GLC. I think it's not very hard to do, and I believe in the past Haji G has made some bold decisions. We should praise Haji G for making some of decisions by appointing people, even though some people were maybe, he knows that it's not politically might be damaging, but he did do something that he knows the right thing to do. And this is, for me, is the right thing to do. Why don't you appoint professional people? And over the past few years, I do acknowledge that there are some improvement in terms of the appointment of the GLC. There are some improvement. I'm not saying that there's no improvement at all, but it can be further improved. And now, on the second term, I hope that the chief ministers and the cabinet, specifically the chief minister, will take a much more bolder approach, even though if meant is not politically the correct thing to do.
One last question, Rahezzal. There are a total of 79 aduns now, all right?
Yep.
With the inclusion of the 6 nominated assemblymen. Okay, now out of this 79 assemblymen here today, all right, I've noticed there's only one, all right, who is not a party member, all right. He is the immediate past president of SLS, Datuk Roger Chin, right? An experienced man, learned guy, all right, but not a member of any political party. Why do you think Haji G put his name up?
Well, I hope, and we've been talking since the list came out yesterday, and a lot of people were speculating which in my opinion is good. And as I mentioned in the past, the 6 nominated assembly quota should be filled by people from diverse background, especially professional people. And kudos to Chief Minister for appointing
Dr. Roger Chin.
Datuk Roger Chin. And I believe he might be given a more prominent role in pushing for Sabah MA60 right, and specifically 40%. In what capacity, we don't know. And I think hopefully he will be fully utilized, will be fully used by Haji G, his expertise, fully used by Haji G to come up with some kind of mechanisms, approach in terms of how we're going to deal with this 40%. That's number one. And number two, I also believe politically, this is an indication. I think in the past, there's few blunders, I would say, made that in a way put the state government in a very difficult, awkward position, especially when it seems that when the suit filed by SLS, there's a lot of confusion. It seems that the state government were opposing it.
Right.
But after the case after it had been decided, SLS managed to get the court verdict. I think everybody was like trying to go on board, claiming that they were part of it.
Yes.
So I think this is
a very common scenario.
Yeah, common. I think one of the reasons also that on the part of Haji G tried to make amends of what at least on the eyes of people, the perception that the state government was against it. So in the way he tried to say, okay, hang on, we acknowledge that SLS, we did a blunder there, and now we, as a token of gestures and appreciations of Datuk Roger Chin's key role in the suit, then I'm going to appoint him, and hopefully it won't be just as a token of reward,
but working as a team.
Working as a team and fully utilize his expertise in getting more progress into the discussions of 40% rights as stipulated under the federal constitution and also MA63 in dealing with the federal government.
Okay, thank you so much for being with me, Rahezzal, this afternoon.
Thank you so much, Ronnie, for having me.
Okay, that was Rahezzal Shah Abdul Karim. He is the Senior Lecturer in Political Science and Policy Studies of UiTM. Right. We convey our grateful thanks to Rahezzal for spending time with me this afternoon and sharing his thoughts and expertise in the field of what politics and policies is literally all about. This is Ronnie Klassen signing off till I see you again. Goodbye.